right, welcome. I am Linnea from the Chanhassen Library. I do the Adult Services Programming, and I'm also here as part of the leadership team for Communities Belonging at Chanhassen. We are recording today's program so that we can share it with those who could not be here, and also for the Minnesota Department of Commerce. In a few days, you'll find the recording at cobchan.org, the website for the Communities of Belonging, Chanhassen. And if there's anyone during question and answers, we have mics for you to wear so it picks up, but also to know if you don't want to be recorded, please let us know that so that you won't be recorded unexpectedly. On the back table, I do have some free consumer information about scams and fraud, and from the Federal Trade Commission, as well as the information sheet that comes from the Department of Commerce. There's also summer program brochures, which literally list hundreds of free programs at all 6 of our Carver County Library locations and online from now through August. We hope that you will visit your public library often. After today's program, please take a moment to fill out a very brief survey. We use this to plan future programs with ideas that come directly from you. Communities of Belonging meets other Saturday mornings, every Saturday from 10 to 11 at the Farmers Market, which is up the hill on the other side of construction at the City Center Park for the summer, unless we have bad weather, and then we meet here in the library lobby. It's a casual way to meet some neighbors and learn about this initiative to build community, and we hope that you will come and invite others because everyone is welcome. We are extra excited today because we've had this wonderful speaker here last year for 2 presentations, and he's literally back by popular demand. Each time he has left audiences informed, engaged, and inspired. Boima Freeman is a senior financial fraud investigator with the Minnesota Department of Commerce. He has more than 16 years of banking experience as a wire transfer investigator and fraud analyst with U.S. Bank, but he's now using that experience to convince victims they are being scammed and providing victims with useful information about what to do after they have been scammed. He's also a volunteer for AARP, Fraud Watch Network. Please welcome Boima Freeman.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's a packed room today. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I heard there's a birthday.
Yeah.
Someone's birthday?
Judy.
Judy, you want to be on, you consent to being on camera, correct? You consent to being on camera. You're not wanted in like other states and you moved to Minnesota, right? Okay. Happy birthday to you. I would sing, but happy birthday to you. We got it out the way. Okay. Yeah, I would introduce myself, but she nailed it. I've been with the banking industry for over 16 years, and then now I'm at Commerce. Ideas that I came up with at the financial institution. You know how it goes with corporate. They have to run it up the chain and run it up the channel, so I decided to leave, and then one day I'm just surfing the internet and saw a job that was basically everything that I wanted to do as far as the job description. I felt like I wrote the job for myself, and then I applied for it, and now here I am. So thank you for being here. We're going to talk about frauds and scam. I just want to start off, first of all, anyone receive a text message today, yesterday, that you deemed as fraudulent, or someone reaching out to you out the blue? Right there. Anyone have been on a dating site and someone liked you on the dating site and you looked at the profile and thought it was a scam or a fraud? Raise your hand. No, I'm going to raise mine. Anyone got a call out the blue from someone that you didn't know and your phone says scam likely? Phones are doing that. So they're trying. I told someone I was going to be here today on a Saturday, and they're like, you work on a Saturday? I'm like, yes, fraudsters do as well. So I'm here because fraudsters, what they'll do is during the weekend is the perfect time for scams, because why? The financial institution, they're off as well. So on Monday, you know, fraudsters have 2 days to work and take funds out of other individuals' accounts or get people to go to the ATM and buy gift cards and send those in. So fraud doesn't sleep, neither do we. So I'm with the Minnesota Department of Commerce. Today, our agenda will be the impact of financial exploitation, trends and tactics, the Minnesota Senior Safe Act, and how Commerce Department can help, and then providing resources as well. So we're going to talk about fraud and scam, basically. We're small in here today, so if anything pops up in your head and you want to have a conversation about it, I don't care if it's about lawn mowing and you need help, just raise your hand and we'll talk about it, because we're small and we all belong here today. So the financial impact of fraud, 16.6 billion in losses reported to the FBI in 2024. 16.6 billion, right? But the key word is not how much was lost. The key word is reported. Because when it comes to fraud and scam, individuals are so afraid to tell. One, because they've been threatened. Two, shame is in the factor. And then three, when they do report, they sometimes, instead of saying I lost $2,000, will say I only lost $20, right? So now multiply that by whatever individuals are reporting or not reporting, and then we have that number of reported. So know that that number is way higher. And the financial impact of fraud, as you can see, we run through this often, individuals that are under 20. As you can see, the complaints are there. As you go to 20 to 29, the complaints are getting more and more. But this is staggering, 60 plus, 4.8 billion. You know why? Because they know a 20-year-old just started working. They don't have that much funds within their account. However, when you do go to individuals that are 60 plus, there's a great wealth transfer that is happening currently where baby boomers are passing funds down to their family members. You know, you've been saving your entire lives. I run into people now who the criminals have contacted them and have gotten them to basically go into their IRA, you know, get second mortgages. They know that they're with, you know, financial institutions and their money has been making money for a long time because, you know, they're not traveling as often because they're saving so that they can have funds to pass along to their generation, onto their children, onto their grandchildren. And the fraudsters know this, and they're just right then and there because they know, as far as technology goes, how many individuals in here know what they're doing on a computer from a day-to-day basis. And I will tell you a story recently of something that happened, and then we'll have some additional stories as well. But I just want to go ahead and get through the meat and potatoes first of all. So yeah, those are the numbers. And then as we keep going, 15.2 million, and that's in Minnesota alone. And then 91.6 million with cryptocurrency. Anyone know what a Bitcoin is? XRP? No? Ethereum? They're all crypto. So if someone calls you and states that you need to pay with crypto or get cash or transfer funds into a crypto wallet, what do? Exactly. I love that. Hang up. You shouldn't have answered the phone anyway, but you're hanging up. That's good. And don't hit them with the Minnesota goodbye. I know it's Minnesota. We want to be Minnesota nice, but definitely hang up the phone is what I tell individuals. There's few rules for fraud. It's simple to follow, but it's so difficult. Is do not answer the phone call if the person is not in your contacts. And if they are in your contacts, let it go to voicemail. Let them leave a message because sometimes individuals will spoof numbers. If you do answer, you're not interested. Your financial institution will never call you and tell you to provide your social security number over the phone, your check card number over the phone, your account number over the phone. So those are telltale signs that that is a scam or that is a fraud. When I would call individuals when I was with the financial institution and say I was calling from the bank, someone's call, is this Mary? And I would love when Mary said, how do I know you're calling from the bank? And I would say, perfect. I'm going to put notes within your account, call the number on the back of the card, and then verify who I am, and then we can talk. So I love that. Individuals still do that to today when I call them from Commerce. So I love hearing that. So know that a bank will never contact you as such. And if they do contact you, I will talk about a scam that leads to another scam and that leads to another scam. And you will see why it's important that you shouldn't answer that call because that opens the window. So we'll keep going. In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission reported an estimated actual yearly loss, as I stated, to be as high as $158 billion. That is a lot of money going to where we don't know. And that's what people will say. You know, they'll say, like J.G. Wentworth, when they go into the bank, it's my money and I need it now. Because the bank is prolonging the fact for them to get those funds to send out. Certain questions are being asked. And I was talking to a lady once, and she said, Boima, let me tell you something. If I wanted to go to the river and take all the money that I have and throw it in the river and paint it green, I can do that. It's my money. I'm like, okay. Just let me know what river it is so I can jump in. Just joking. But that's the mentality that people have. It's like, it's my funds. I've worked hard for it. I can do whatever it is that I want to do. And she's like, I could paint places purple if I wanted to. And I was like, yes, you certainly can. But the difference between you doing that and you sending someone that you don't know $20,000 is the fact that that river that you're painting purple, people are going to see it and say, oh, that's beautiful Prince, or Viking pride. But those funds are going to someone that you don't know. They could be using it for money laundering. They could be using it for terrorism. They could be using it for sex trafficking. And you don't want to be involved in that. Just trying to hammer it through to them that show us your funds, donate it to someplace else, give it to a church, give it to the library. But at least at least you're giving it to someone that's doing something positive with it. So the scammers' tactics, scammers pretend to be someone you trust. They impersonate a company or a government agency to get you to pay, but it's a scam. They will call you saying they're from Excel Energy. Maybe you have a refund coming to you. Now, all they need is the card information that you made the last payment with, and then you provide them with that card number, you provide them with all the payment information, and then 2 days later, you have funds coming out of your account. And now you have to contact your bank and change your account number or change your card number, and that could be a nuisance. Whereas if you just hang up, the fraud stops. So just cut the tree before it even starts to grow. Scammers create a sense of urgency, intimidation, and fear. They want you to act before you have a before you have a chance to check out their claims. Don't let anyone rush you to pay or give sensitive business information over the phone. It is imperative that you pay this ticket right now, because if you don't, the cops are coming over to arrest you. You have to pay as soon as possible. Your name has popped up on a child pornography website. If you give us your account information, we can check to see if funds are coming out of your account, because this website has been charging other members, and we can help you get that off. The first thing that comes to people's mind is, I'm 68 years old. I've never, ever, ever been in trouble with anyone. What are my friends going to think about me if this pops up? So whatever it is that I have to pay, I'm going to pay. And then those funds, they're going to go ahead and pay that fund, or whatever it is the amount of money is, because they don't want their name associated with that type of stigma. So right then and there, the intimidation factor is there. They will tell you to pay with the gift card. Once they start saying those unusual type of payments, sending wires to companies that you've never worked with, or an intermediary person, just start asking those probing questions. And for these fraudsters, not for some reason, because they're smart, they're sitting there 24 hours thinking about a way to come up with another scam and teaching each other how to come up with those scams. So they know they have great rebuttals because of ChatGTP. They know how financial institutions work. They know questions that individuals are going to ask, so they're quick with it, with their responses. When I talk to people who have been victims, they're like, the criminals over the phone, every time I had a question, they had an answer for it as to why I shouldn't have been asking those questions, because when they responded, it just seemed like it was correct, and that's what they will do because they are smart. Scammers ask you to pay in specific ways. They often demand payment through wire transfers, cryptocurrencies, or gift cards. Don't pay anyone who demands payment this way is a scam, because sometimes they'll say they're from the IRS and they'll want you to go to buy several gift cards. Sometimes individuals go from place to place to place, and they keep them over the phone as they're going to those places, because they want to know at what point is Target going to question saying, after a certain threshold, maybe it's $10,000 gift cards that you buy, and then all of a sudden the red flag is raised. Walgreens will ask you questions like, did someone contact you to make these payments? But they tell individuals what to say, as far as the scam goes. And then with the wire transfers are ridiculously high to get as far as your funds back from it, because as soon as you send those wires, you cannot get it back often. By the time you do a recall, they've already taken the funds out of the account. And then cryptocurrency, like I said, if you don't know what a cryptocurrency is, stay away from it. And scammers ask victims to lie, as I stated before. We will talk about a scam and you'll see exactly how it works and why they tell people to lie, because the banks are asking these questions. But if someone is saying that they need to repair a roof and they seem genuine about it, the banks don't even go any further. They may delay disbursement and contact us and say, maybe you can contact this person or maybe call a trusted person. but 9 times out of 10, they're handing those funds away. There's some individuals that are buying gold online, to send out to these fraudsters. Now, fraudsters, because of the law that was passed for the crypto kiosks, we'll talk more about that. They're now knocking on doors and bringing a carrier saying, meet me at the gas station, or we'll leave the gold in your garage or next to your garage, take a picture of it, we'll come out and we'll pick it up, because we want to put those funds in a secure location, because someone at your financial institution is involved in it, and then they add that secrecy to it. Now they're not telling the bank exactly why they need those funds. So this is the one that I want to touch on today, as far as scams, starting off as one scam and then leading to another scam. So boom, we're going to go back. Tech support scam. I have a case maybe 2 days ago that came in. Gentleman was on the computer, received a Microsoft notification, right? Saying, call this number. He contacted Microsoft. They informed him that he had a malware on his computer, but they can assist him in removing that malware. They needed remote access to his computer. He then basically gave them remote access. All of a sudden, they're asking him to log into his financial institution. He logged into his bank account. They're now seeing everything that he has as far as all of his funds. What he's being told now is the fact that someone at the financial institution is involved in stealing funds from customers and stealing their personal information. His name is now on a sex trafficking list. But they know for sure that he's not the individual that is doing it. So in order for him to participate in catching this person, he needed to cooperate with them. So he's like, sure, you guys are a tech support company. You know my bank information. So you'll be receiving a call, they told him, from your financial institution. So what they'll do is sometimes they'll just transfer to the financial institution. But that's when the red flags is raised. It's like, why is Microsoft associated with US Bank? Why is Microsoft associated with TrueStone? How does Microsoft know what's going on at my financial institution? They're asking those questions, but now it's turning into a fact where the tech support individual is just passing that phone on to someone, or passing the individual's name on to someone, or because they have the same accent, it's the same person that's now going to contact him and saying, hi, I'm calling from the financial institution. And yes, we're doing an investigation currently at our bank because someone here, it could be your family member, we don't know who it is, but someone has been accessing your account and taking funds out of your account. Can you log into all your financial institutions currently so that we know that this isn't taking place at your Schwab or your Vector or any other banks that you do have? Because people have multiple financial institutions. So right now, because they've installed that malware from the tech support, they're now looking at all of the logins at the financial institutions. Right now, they're salivating. Why? Because he has $2.5 million in all of his accounts. And this is when the government imposter comes into play. We're going to lock down your bank account, right? However, you're going to be getting a call from the FDIC or from the FBI. Since it started off with the fact that you're now on some trafficking lists, you need to sign some secrecy documents. But the government is going to contact you. So then they hang up. 2 minutes later, they get a call from the FBI. We know that you're not the individual because they already know, that someone is pretending to be you because your financial institution is aware. We have someone that is working at your bank. However, we're going to send you several emails. Please keep this a secret. If you tell anyone, your name is going to continue to remain on that list. And please don't share this information with anyone whatsoever. Boom. 2 minutes later, he receives a text message or an email. It looks legitimate. It's coming from the FBI. There's marks on there saying, check here, check here, check here. You're not going to tell your bank because if you do, it's gonna interrupt our investigation. You're not going to tell a family member. You're not going to contact anyone about this. The secrecy of this depends on you being removed off that particular list, and you're helping us catch someone at your financial institution. Thank you so much for doing this for us. We're the government. For some reason, people don't question. They want to be helpful. And it continues. Now the government imposter scam starts. They've signed all of the paperwork saying that they're going to keep this a secret because why? You're loyal. You're 65 years old. You don't want to be in trouble anymore. So now it moves on to another step. Now this is where it gets interesting. That government imposter have spoken with the fraudster because they're right next door to them. They already have all the financial specs. So now what they're telling the individual to do is go to your bank, take out all of your money, because while this investigation is going on, your accounts are in danger because the government could seize your funds. But I'm working with you. I'm the only one that you can trust currently. Don't trust anyone else. Besides the individuals that you've spoken to, no one else, not your bank, not someone else calling you saying they're from the FBI. The secrecy is the utmost that you have to do this with. So now the person goes to all of their financial institution and create transfers to move all the money into one bank account. What they'll do is they'll create another account for you, at some fictitious website that they've created, because they certainly can, and say your funds are going to be transferred into this account. You look at it, it looks like a normal banking. Information is at zero currently. They can change those numbers at any time. So this individual in this case bought $2.5 million worth of gold. $2.5 million worth of gold. It was delivered to his house. The gold companies aren't asking questions as the banks saying, why are you purchasing this? They just know that people maybe fear that something is going to happen. We have wars going on. The world is currently unstable, so they're relying on that as well too. So the gold company ships him the gold. Next thing you know, he's at a gas station giving someone gold. He said 3 different times he met someone at the gas station and provided them with the gold. From the tech support to the bank imposter to the government, it was about 2 weeks. Every day he's being contacted. Sometimes 8 hours he's on the phone, right? Because he wants to help, and they're saying that they want to help him. After they received the gold, he said he attempted to contact the government. The government phone number is out of order. He attempted to contact the bank imposter, is out of order. He attempted to contact the tech support number from Microsoft, is out of order. You know why? They're done. They know what they wanted. They came, they saw, they took. So he filed a police report. One of the couriers that came to pick the gold up, thank goodness it was done at a place where cameras were around and they were able to take the picture. They found out who the person was, and the person was arrested in Michigan, which is good. But chances are that person probably was online and they saw something saying delivery carrier wanted, and they may not even know that person that started the fraud, because that person is probably in Bangladesh, Colombia Heights, maybe somewhere, but we don't know, who it is or where it is. And that's the difficult part. Is like, how do you catch these individuals? So that's a telltale sign of how at any point during this conversation, unfortunately, he didn't ask the right questions. Unfortunately, he didn't hang up the phone and call someone that he trusted. Unfortunately, he trusted them because they stated who they were. So that's the powerful tool to remember today, is the fact that if someone is on the phone telling you who they are, do not believe them. If someone shows up at the library telling you they're from the Department of Commerce, don't believe them. That was for me. So as you see, recovery scams. Also, I'm talking to someone else who went through this exact same scam a couple of months ago, right? That's what I try to tell people when I'm calling them. I let them know what to expect. I don't come out and be like, oh, this is a scam, this is a fraud, this is romance scam or whatever. This is what you should anticipate. And if it starts to happen, make sure you hang up the phone and contact me, because this is the blueprint that they're going to follow. So now that he's lost all of those funds, what I try to tell him is, be careful. Those same fraudsters will sell your information to someone else. Now a recovery scam is going to take place where someone is going to say, oh, that gold was seized. And all you need to do is, we have a lawyer that can help you get back that gold, or a portion of it, 75% of it. 75% of 2.5 million, my math isn't good, so I'm not even going to try, but that's a lot, right? So there's going to coerce you to want to do more to help. So you're going to pay. So you're at the casino right now, you're down 20, but you're going to put that extra 5 in there to try to win your 20 back, is what I tried to explain to them. So recovery scams will prey on money that's lost, because those criminals want to double down and get some additional funds from you. So people will go and ask family members to borrow money, or get a second mortgage, or even sell their homes thinking that they're going to get funds because now something is legitimate. So be careful of those as well. And like I said, the scammers will try to convince to purchase gold. That's one. And victims are being forced to change banks due to this, as far as force, because now the financial institution doesn't trust this individual anymore. You're a risk to the bank because you're continuously going in and asking for funds. Maybe you're getting loans that you're not paying back. So now, if the financial institution talks to you and gives you several warnings saying that Elvis is not in love with you, quit sending him money, and people still want to be in the romance scam, the banks are going to say, hey, sorry, we're closing your account. Here's a cashier's check. Goodbye. And what happens is when you take a $75,000 cashier check to another bank, they're wondering why you're switching banks. Oh, you were with this financial institution for what, 25 years, and now all of a sudden you're here. And they know they're going to contact us. They're going to send another request to us. Because for some, now people are depositing fraudulent checks again into that same account. They're being kicked out of another financial institution. So we try to warn people, if you get kicked out of from a bank, all of a sudden now you have cash and can't deposit it anywhere. Now it's at home. And a lot of places don't take cash. How are you going to pay your bills? So you have to stop talking to these individuals. So we get a lot of messages that come into us on a daily basis, like my scam folder is full, my inbox is full just of scam messages that look legitimate, but they're not. And now we have text messages. Criminals have multiple ways to contact us. I always say, like a couple of years ago, maybe 1856, were there banks around in 1856? I don't know. However, people were robbing banks with stage coaches were being robbed. People had guns, or maybe they were using bow and arrows at that time or whatever. But then it gradually went to an automatic weapon or whatever, and people were running into banks and stealing funds. It was someone, you could be walking outside and someone could have a gun that pointed at your head and say, give me your funds. So now we have all these technologies. Your cell phone is a gun, just look at it that way, and your device is a gun. Whatever it is that you use, an iPad, iPhone, iMac, that's a gun right now, because fraudsters are using that as a weapon. And now they can basically be anywhere and rob you. So robberies are taking place often, and people are giving these individuals the funds because they're trusting who they are. So verify before you trust. So fake websites will come in. The alert will, your computer scam alert telling you to click on a particular link. As you can see, they're demanding things. If you look at the bottom right here, it says, do not try to manually remove. I apologize. Do not try to manually remove. Don't try to remove this yourself. Contact us. They don't want you to click on that because they want you to feel like you need to contact them because they're the ones that are the experts. So demanding you to call it immediately. People want to use their devices. So if I'm playing Plinko, if I'm playing bingo online and all of a sudden I get a Microsoft pop up, I'm trying to get to my bingo as soon as possible because why? All I needed was a G to win, right? So now I'm calling, I'm not even going to stop and verify. But if ever you get these messages, either delete them, close your laptop, and take it into a trusted source because chances are you have a virus. You get these as well coming from Amazon. It's a fake email address. If you hover over that email address, you'll see something that doesn't pertain to Amazon as well. Alert for fraud on your account. Sometimes it's even a refund because when people see refunds, they're like, oh, I can get some money back. And these happen coincidentally as well because you may have just ordered something from Amazon 2 days ago and all of a sudden you get a delivery notification from the FedEx or whatever, or UPS. So now you're associating that with, hey, my delivery, and then boom, you have a malware on your computer. So be careful of that. Threats to terminate your account. I don't want to lose my Amazon account because I'm watching a great series right now online. You're going to click on that. And then link to the website, that appears. Do not click on that. Recently, there were a lot of text messages going out saying people should pay tolls or they need the vehicle registration in Minnesota. Do not click on those, delete those. That's not how that institution works. If you haven't received the text messages, if you don't have text alert from your bank, do not follow those links. Do not click on that information. And even if you do, just delete it and go to your financial institution yourself. Call them from the number on the back of your card, not the number that they provide. So as you can see, strange phone numbers, look at the number at the top. Demand for payment immediately. Look, North Minnesota. Is there a North Minnesota? Have you heard of that before? But people will not pay attention to that. And then that section code or whatever doesn't pertain to what that text message is about. Threats of suspension, fees, even prosecution. No one wants to go through all of that, so they'll just go ahead and click on that and try to make a payment right away because they're not verifying before they're trusting. And then people always say, well, a lot of people aren't going to fall for this. However, because I haven't traveled, so I clicked on it. So I didn't click on it. I haven't traveled. I haven't gone anywhere, so I knew it was a scam. But someone may have just traveled to New Jersey. Someone may have just gotten back from Chicago, and they did pass a toll booth, and maybe they did pay. But now they're getting this message, so now they're concerned. So they're going to go ahead and click on the link to see if it is. But that link is not legitimate, and it's going to take them to something that will download a malware on their computer, and now fraudsters can see everything that you're doing. That's my fear. It's like, I don't care where I'm going, what website I'm going to. I know it's not bad, but I don't want someone watching my computer to see what I'm doing on there, because I do log into my financial institutions every day. We do log into places, that we use user ID and passwords for. And we have password managers on our account, and they can see that information as well. So please be careful. So the cryptocurrency law was put into play. But the beautiful thing about this is, I think on August 1st is the date. I could be wrong, but please Google it. Don't trust me. But it is August 1st. The crypto kiosk is going away. It's been banned in Minnesota. I don't know if you know what a crypto kiosk is. It was basically being used for fraud, because that's where, instead of the gold, he would have taken the 2.5 million to the kiosk and fed it, because they would have opened a crypto wallet for him. And then no one would have came to his house to pick up the gold. But since this law went into effect, where it provides a refund if the losses occurred within 72 hours of someone becoming a customer, and if reported within 14 days, or if the transaction has a $2,000 limit. Because I was talking to a lady, and then she said, I was at the machine before this law was passed. She was like, I was at a machine and I just kept putting funds in there. She put over $200,000 into the machine. And she said, I stood there, I was getting tired, and someone brought me a chair. And they didn't ask her any questions. But you've seen those machines before. They're outside. Some of them are in BP. Some are in your grocery stores. But please, if someone is saying go to the kiosk machine, do not do that, because a high percentage of the time it was a scam. And unfortunately, the kiosk industries, they knew what was going on. But if you're making a percentage off of fraud, you're also a fraudster. So the government cracked down on there. Thank goodness for Minnesota individuals, because places were like, get this machine out of here, so in Minnesota. So if you see something that you feel is a scam or a fraud, please report it, because if individuals didn't report those machines, we would have had an issue where the laws wouldn't have been passed. So make sure the people that you're voting for are working for you, and make sure that the people that you're paying taxes for are working for you. And that's what I'm doing here today, because I am with Commerce, and your taxes goes to pay us. So thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, we'll keep going. So what do you do if you suspect a scam? Pause. That's what the scammers don't want you to do. Hit pause. If you're watching a show, right, and you're not paying too much attention, your phone rings, what do? You pause the TV, because you cannot focus on two things at once, right? So pause so that you can get a full grasp of what's going on, instead of just rushing and doing things. So always pause before sending money or giving personal information. Ask yourself these questions. Why am I providing this over the phone? Can I go into the bank and do this? Why is the bank calling me to get my information? Is this a normal process? So, and it's okay to hang up. It's okay to hang up. Nothing is going to happen if you hang that phone up. If they're threatening you, saying the cops are going to come and arrest you, I don't know any cops that call you before they come and arrest you. Unless you're a billionaire, then they give you a warning, make you go eat your favorite food, and then they'll come and pick you up. But normal people, they just kick your door down and arrest you. So if they're saying the cops are coming, say, I'll be waiting for them. Matter of fact, I'm going to call the cops right now, because I hate waiting. So verify. If the number pops up, you can always go on Google, type that phone number in and put fraud, or type the number in and Google it. If they're saying they're calling from AT&T, that number will pop up saying they're calling from AT&T. If they're not, that number will show up that it's coming from a scam reporter. Call your friend or family members. Call me. Right? Does this sound legitimate? I have individuals that I've talked to, and we've talked about scams and fraud, and after all of that is done, they're now contacting me saying, can you look at this email? Right? I'm going to send you this message. Is this a real lawyer contacting me? Should we be paying this timeshare company? What do you think about this? So we have that conversation, so feel free. And consult a professional as far as a financial advisor, fraud hotline, or commerce. You can contact AARP, there's a fraud watch. You can go onto the ftc.gov website. So take advantage of all of that. What it's saying is pause, verify, ask questions, and verify who it is that you're speaking with. Because Agent Steven Johnson is always a first name, first name. They pick Mike Smith. It's names like those that I see on the email from the FDIC, and the number is like a WhatsApp number, or the number is like a VoIP number. A federal agency will not have a VoIP number, right? A federal agency will voice over IP is what it is. I'm sorry, I'm using jargon. Please let me know. So I tend to do that, but it's voice over IP. So what it means is I'm not going into Sprint. Sprint doesn't have AT&T. I'm not going into T-Mobile and giving them my ID and saying, can I please have a phone number? No, I'm going on the computer and I'm typing in. I can put in, what's the area code here again? 952? 952. Yeah, so I can put in a 952 number, and when I call you, I say I'm calling from the CHANforum library, because you see 952. I'm in West Africa somewhere, but I've created a phone number online, and I can delete that number at any point. It's not tied into me whatsoever. So that's why you see those weird phone numbers coming in, from various locations. So, yeah. And then report it, because unfortunately, we're dancing after the music stops, right? We're showing up at the party when it's over, because people are not reporting these scams. People are not reporting these frauds. By the time the financial institution sends something to Adult Protective Services or to us, it's too late. The individuals has lost maybe $25,000 already or more. And now we're having to have that conversation with them. So report to the FTC, the FBI, local law enforcement, me. Report to phone companies if someone is calling you saying they're from AARP, or they're calling you saying they're from Medicare or Medicaid. Contact Medicare or Medicaid from a letter that you actually have, not from the number that they provide. Make sure you're on the website itself to call that number and let them know, hey, members are being contacted saying this. Is it true? And then they're aware of it. They can alert their members of that. So please do. Talk to someone you trust. Put a trusted person on your account. I know we've talked today about, people that you don't know, strangers contacting you. But keep in mind that your family members can be fraudsters as well. People that you've placed on your account to trust, your trusted person, the person that you've added to your account as far as a joint account holder, or paid on death, they can take advantage of you as well. So please, if you see funds are missing from your account, make sure you contact your financial institution. If there's a deposit that you see coming into your account for 39 cents, right? Or a subtraction from your account for 39 cents, know that someone has your card information or someone has your account information, because right now they're just doing test deposits to verify your account. And then they can pull funds out of there. If your bank contacts you and say, hey, we're noticing that your user ID is being used in Bangladesh, know that someone has your user ID and know that someone has your password, or they're attempting to log into your account. So, cybersecurity tips: use unique phrases for online accounts. I know it's difficult to keep track of passwords and you want to keep them the same, so you have everything the same passwords as far as everywhere that you log in. That is not safe whatsoever. So make sure you follow the practices of using long form password, and keep a software up to date on your device. I know a lot of people, when they get those updates, they're like, oh, I just got used to the interface, and now they're changing that. But fraudsters relying on that, because that update, your phone has realized that there's some way that fraudsters can infiltrate that device. So then the techs look at it and they're like, let's update the firmware, or let's update the software. So make sure you do your updates when you get those notifications, and periodically. And be careful of one-time passcodes. Do not give that information to anyone, because when I was at the financial institutions, that's what fraudsters were doing. People would apply for a loan, and the fraudsters will tell them, we need your user ID and your password, and to log into the account and verify that the funds are now in your account. So be careful of those. And then they know that when financial institutions were contacting people after you contact the bank or you made that call, they will send you a one-time passcode, and then they were passing that passcode along to the fraudsters. And that's how the fraudsters were able to call the bank and pretend to be the customer, because the customer was getting the one-time passcode, and then the customer would then forward that passcode to the fraudster. So the reason why I detected this is because I was listening to these phone calls, and the person who called, not sounding like the person names, let's say Amy, right, from Minnetonka, but it's a gentleman from India, has all of her information. And they would pause for a second, and then they would get the one-time passcode. After the rep asked for the one-time passcode, they would have a conversation like, oh, how's the weather over there? Or, how are you feeling today? Just buying time. And I would hear a ding in the background, and they would provide the one-time passcode to the person. So when I contacted the customer, I'm like, did you apply for a loan recently? They're like, yeah. I'm like, did you give them your user ID and password? They're like, yeah. I'm like, did they tell you when you get a one-time passcode to forward that to someone? And they're like, yeah. So, and I started listening to all these calls from the same phone number because they were just calling on multiple customers, and that's how it was happening. What the fraudsters or criminals were doing is they would have the user ID and password. They would see a transaction that was like a high value amount, and they will contact the bank pretending to be the customer, saying that that transaction shouldn't have been $2,500. It should have only been $250, because they know the financial institutions have a certain amount of time in order to give provisioning credit on the account. So after a day or two, the provisioning credit is now placed on the account for $2,000 or whatever the amount is. The fraudsters then log into the account, see that it's done, and then they transfer the funds out of the account, or they convince the customer to transfer the funds because the customer, they apply for a loan. They don't see the PRV means provisioning credit. They think the PRV means a credit, a loan that was placed on the account. So now what the fraudsters would tell them is, prove to us that we can trust you with $2,000, because if you do, we're going to give you more. So now send that $2,000 back to us. And then they were sending those funds out. Unfortunately, they were then out of it, because once the financial institution realized that those were actually legitimate transactions, they were now out of $4,000, right? Because of the amount that they paid prior, and now what they actually sent out, because that was just a credit that was being placed on the account so that they can pay their bills in case it actually was a fraudulent transaction to begin with. Fraudsters knew that. Go ahead.
Just another question with regard to, I'm sorry, with regard to the one-time passcodes, because if you do business online, invariably you get those.
Mm-hmm.
Your point is not that they're bad, just don't give them out to anybody, correct?
Correct. So you're logging into your financial institution. It's a two-factor authentication. So this is basically verifying that, hey, this phone number or email address belongs to this particular account, because they trust that only the customer has access to it. So then you put in your user ID, you put in your password. That is another form of verifying as to who you are. So you get that number. It doesn't last long. Some companies will say 15 minutes. Some companies will say 30 minutes or maybe 4 hours. I don't think one lasts that long, but it varies. And then you just basically will take that number one time, 478782, and then you're now into your account. But if I'm telling you to give me your user ID and password, I'm a scammer. When you get that one-time passcode, you send it to me. The financial institution doesn't know there's someone else. So then I'm logging into your system now, pretending to be you, because I've verified that authentication.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. And never approve remote access. If someone is saying, let me see what you're seeing on your computer, no. Find someone that you can take that device to, go to the financial institution and say, hey, I'm on your website, can you guide me currently? So even if it's someone that you trust as far as a tech support person, you contact the Geek Squad and they're like, nope, I'm gonna bring my computer into you, because why? Someone could get a job at a place and still be a criminal, right? So never approve remote access. And always, 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 always have a skeptical mindset. Be inquisitive, ask why. Like, why do you need me to do this? Because every time I contact the victim and I say, is there a reason why, they caught you at a particular point? What was happening during that day? What questions did you ask? Did you double check? They always say, there was a little voice telling me to, everything that you're telling me to do right now, there was a little voice, but I didn't pay attention to it. Pay attention to that little voice. Trust yourself. You've been trusting yourself all your life. Trust yourself now. And know that with technology, anyone can reach out to you. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
There are sites that at least I use, and I would assume that many people use, that ask for remote access. So sites like tax software, you're doing your taxes online and you run into a snag and you call their help desk, they invariably always ask for that. So your advice is not to give it?
No. Do you have the option to go in? Because I know Quicken does that if you contact Quicken
Yes.
tech support.
TurboTax
Okay.
is,
I would say don't. But if it's something that you've done in the past and nothing happened, you're positive that you're contacting Quicken. You're positive that you're contacting the tech support of Quicken. You're 100% sure, and you've done it in the past, you can certainly rely on your expertise, rely on your trust factor. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you've done it in the past, you certainly can. What I'm doing today is just providing advice as to how you can protect yourself. But if it's something that you've done in the past and you are comfortable with it, you certainly can, because
Thank
you're
you.
trusting that you're talking to someone from Quicken. Now, if your phone rings and someone is saying, "Hi, I'm calling from Quicken. Can I please have remote access to your computer so that you can log in and I can see what you're doing?" Then you hang up the phone and you contact the number that you've always contacted for Quicken for help. So you can look at it as that as well. So yeah, that's a great question.
well, just to add to it, infrequently when you call the help desk, you get put in a queue. And the option is to, instead of waiting online, we'll call you back. You won't lose your place in line. And so
The
You're
number
actually-
that they're calling you from, is
Yes.
it because companies will have the same phone number that they're calling from. They're just all in a giant queue, and they're not calling you from an individual number that they have. You can always just Google that number
okay.
and make sure that it is with that company.
So the point is just to have your antennas up.
Correct.
And sometimes it's safe
Correct.
to go forward. If you
In that
feel it.
instance, I do, because when I'm on hold in that queue and it states that I'm going to get a call from Amazon, it pops up. It's the same Amazon number that I've seen before on my phone. Or you can't trust your call ID all of the time, but if it's stating that, and like I said, you can go on Google and check the number, you can do that as well. But
Thank
if you're
you.
positive, you initiated that. So if you're initiating something, chances are you can rely on that. But it's something out of the blue, someone calling you,
Yeah.
where you didn't request that. That's when I would question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then also, when they do provide remote access, that there's a pop-up indicator. Just make sure that that individual is not, watching whatever it is that you are doing. Is there a reason why you're asking for remote? Is this basically the navigation process of things, or is this just easier?
No, it's because taxes are complicated and their software isn't always right. And sometimes it doesn't handle where it's not obvious.
Okay, so you just
How
need
it's-
some sort of guidance.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you, like I said, if you're the one initiating the call, then you can rely on that, especially if you've worked with that company in the past. You have a relationship with them. It's not out the blue. So,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
But still, just be careful.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the skeptical mindset. So, I know you're wondering, why is Commerce here today? Our mission is to protect and assist consumers. We engage with the communities as we are today. We oversight 40 plus industry and areas. So if you're ever at a gas station, you can look at that gas station and see Commerce on there. I know gas price is high right now, but if you're paying $400 and your gas tank still isn't full, something is wrong. Call Commerce, we'll come out. And you can go to our website as well to figure it out. So the Minnesota Safe Seniors Act was put into place. It basically provides financial professionals and banks and credit unions the following. They can report suspected financial exploitation. They can notify a trusted third party, and they can temporarily hold funds. So if someone's going into the bank, they've realized that they may be caught into a romance relationship, they can say, we're not giving you $75,000 right now to repair your roof. Then they file the report, and then we contact them. I give them a call. There's a temporary hold that we can request if Adult Protective Services reaches out to us and say someone's family member is stealing funds from them. They've placed the person on their account as a trusted individual, and all of a sudden this person is now taking grandma's funds, and every week they're at a casino. We can place holds on the account while the Adult Protective Services do their due diligence. So the first hold is for 15 days, business days, and then after that we put another 10 business days. But we can extend that if they report it to if they would like it to happen, and we will ask permission from the commissioner to extend that, because sometimes the investigation goes for a long point because they're trying to add emergency conservatorship, or they're trying to add a payee, a rep payee, or just stopping the bleeding from happening is what we're doing, for people from sending funds to individuals that they don't know as well. So that law covers anyone that is 65 plus or that is considered a vulnerable adult. But you can read more about it, and you can certainly contact the Department of Commerce. So what happens when a report is made to us? Because I know you're like, okay, is this all you do as far as presentations? No, it's not. I sit there, and then email pops up, and there's a form. Someone's name, someone's address, someone's phone number, and I'm reading through the gist of it and seeing the type of scam that it is. The financial institution will tell us if they've placed a hold or not. Sometimes it's a family member, sometimes it's a person reporting on themselves. And then basically read the gist of it, find out the category of scam that it is. So basically what we do, we investigate allegations, contact the alleged victim, decide appropriate intervention, contact the financial institution and figure out what we can put in place. What have they done so far if we need to put the Chapter 45A hold? And then we cross-report with local law enforcement, because sometimes we may need the cop to go out there, especially if the report is saying there's some sort of abuse going on physically, or someone is actually there stealing at that point. And then we provide education and resources. But I want you to know the fact that our job is pretty easy, but it's not, right? First, you have to be a people person. Right? Because if I'm contacting someone that's been in love for 6 months with Elvis Presley, I can't just go out and say, hey, man, Elvis is dead. The person that you're talking to is not. So I have to build a relationship with that person. First, I give them a call, and then I read them a tenancy warning, which is just basically is a warning that let them know that, because of Minnesota law, any information I'm asking for them, it's going to be personal, and I'm going to be reporting to the commissioner if it's asked for. I'm going to be taking certain acts with the financial institution, but I want them to know that they can refuse to, answer any questions. But if they do refuse, I don't have the tools to help them, right? So the conversation then starts where I'm telling you not to trust anyone, but yet here I'm calling you saying I'm from a government agency. So now I'm asking you to trust me. Well, how do I know you're from the Minnesota Department of Commerce? Perfect question. You know why? Because now I know that I'm talking to someone that's paying attention, right? So please, I'm going to hang up the phone. They're like, what's the number for Commerce? No, I'm not going to give you that number, because if I was a fraudster, I could be giving you my own number, and I'm changing my voice when you call. So why would you trust me at this point? Go on Google Minnesota Department of Commerce, call this number that pops up. Ask them, this is my name, this is my number, if I work for the Department of Commerce. I'm waiting by my phone at that point. 5 minutes later, I do get a call saying, okay, I verified it was you. How may I help you? And I don't go in like hot and say, okay. I know, I've read the gist of it. Maybe you've been sending $55,000 to someone that you don't know. So now I'm going to ask you to tell me, have you made any transactions recently that someone would have deemed as fraudulent, or have you spoken to your financial institution, or have you spoken to any family members? Because I can't tell them who reported this because it is confidential, and I let them know. Whatever conversations that we do have, I'm not going to go outside and tell anyone else. So this right here is just me and you right now. And then they're like, yeah, my financial institution stopped me from sending funds out. Why? They claim that, whoever it is that I'm talking to that I'm in love with, who's working on an oil rig, or who's a 5-star general in the Army, or who's Yellowstone, Kevin Costner, I'm not in love with him. And I'm like, oh, you're in love with Kevin Costner? I'm like, I love his movies. Tell me more about him. The conversation starts, we start talking. If it's a romance scam, I'm asking this question. Have you ever been in a long distance relationship before? And they're like, yeah, I have. Or I was with my husband for 56 years, or it's, 46 years and he passed away and now I'm trying to fill a void. I'm like, okay, so fraudsters will pinpoint that, but I'm not telling that person just yet. I'm like, have you ever been in a long distance relationship before? And they're like, yeah, I have. I'm like, how did that make you feel? Oh, it was euphoric. I woke up like Maria from The Sound of Music. The hills are alive. I'm spinning. The birds are chirping differently. I'm like, oh, that's amazing to hear. Have you met him yet? They're like, no. I'm like, so have you made plans to meet him? And they're like, yeah, we have, but it doesn't really pan out. Can you tell me the instances as to why? Have you sent funds to this individual? How much have you sent? The relationship that you were in prior. What's the difference between this relationship, long distance relationship, and the last long distance relationship? What are the pros and the cons? Well, I haven't seen them. Is it a two-way street or is it a one-way? That tick start happening, right? Because it's a long distance relationship, and now it's a matter of the heart, just not the funds. I have to be very careful at this point, right? So just trying to then have them trust me as opposed to trusting that person. And then we have a conversation, and they've realized that the person that they've sent $56,000 to, because they've made promises that they're going to be moving to a remote island somewhere, or maybe the person is going to be moving to Minnesota, is not true. But there's always a reason why they never come and see the person. There's always a reason why they need more funds. Sometimes they even create like this person. This is what they did to this individual. They created a fictitious family of twins, 2 girls, and they ended up dying. One 6 months right after the other, because they needed money for burial. And they trusted this person would help. They flattered them, like, oh, you're the only person that can do this. I'm so glad that you're in my life. They contact you in the morning. They contact you at night. They leave you feeling really, really good about yourself, And this lady reported to me, she was like, when my husband passed, I had no one else. And the fraudsters will detect that. All of a sudden you now have a Facebook friend. All of a sudden you now have a friend, and the conversation moves to WhatsApp. And then every morning they're contacting you, but you're not getting anything out of this relationship besides a conversation. However, they are getting a lot of money. And there's always a reason why they'll never come, is what I try to tell her. If I was in love with someone, I'm seeing them as soon as possible. She's buying tickets, they're not even showing up, but she's giving them the money to buy the tickets instead of purchasing the tickets herself. So, tools to stop and prevent fraud. So come up with a support plan currently, saying, if something starts happening to me, I have a trusted family members. I have a power of attorney, but you can always change that information at any time. Have a trusted network of professionals, individuals that you talk to, share conversations with. Have a password manager. If you notice your social security number is popping up on places, or if you're getting calls saying you applied for something that you didn't apply for, make sure you freeze your credit. If you're not going to be applying for anything, make sure you freeze your credit. I always tell people I can walk around with my social security number on my shirt because it's everywhere right now. When phone calls come in, if you're fed up with them, you can contact your telephone company and find out ways to block those calls. Consider prepaid debit card, especially if you are traveling. That way you're not using your actual card, or use your credit card, because credit cards stand more weight when it comes to fraud. Do frequent education. I heard someone say, it's nice to see you here again. It's perfect, because don't think you know too much about frauds and scam, because I almost have been a victim of it if I wasn't putting on my work hat, because it's easy for me to come up here and tell you what to do. And sometimes I don't even practice that, because if I didn't hang up that phone, that could have been a fraudster, is what I do nowadays. Like, how do I know it was Amazon that was contacting me? And this text message I almost clicked on, and we get it at work all the time, where they'll send us a fictitious email. And they sent us an email just like a few weeks ago, but it was right after something happened in the news. And then they sent us an email about, I think it was the police chief of Minneapolis, and they sent us something like a company code of conduct. They're like, make sure you click on this link and review the code of conduct. And I was like, report as phishing. And I'm glad I did, because it was. So they will test you. So something happens where maybe there's a natural disaster somewhere, start looking out for those fake companies that you can help that area, because you will get text messages or you will get phone calls saying we're with the Red Cross, but it's actually not the Red Cross. So, and then let individuals know, feel free to talk about scams and fraud with people. I always say treat scam like it's a good sale, because if I know something is on sale for 75% off, I'm telling everyone I know. So if someone calls you saying they're from your bank, make sure you tell, hey, watch out for these calls that are coming in. So know that. This is what our website looks like. That's my grandfather. So I'm just joking, that's not my grandfather. So yeah, that's the phone number, and I have handouts that will have that as well. And that is the ftc.gov's website. It's important to go there, and you can put in anything in that search field as far as how to freeze your credit. If you do have some sort of fraud on your account, or if you want to know about romance scams, there are stories you can read up on. There are questions you can ask, and then also you can contact the ARP helpline as far as AARP. There's a fraud watch network. They even have something that's for, where people meet and talk about scams and fraud, to have that community, because it's like I'm calling someone and telling them, hey, stop talking to that scammer, but now what? That void needs to be filled. Oops, sorry, you're taking pictures. Go ahead, you're good. I can also have this sent, I think the library may have this as well, but I can have this sent in if you want me to as well. So thank you for listening. I appreciate the packed room. I know it's nice outside, so I could have done this remotely from the beach today, but I decided to come, just joking. I decided to come here. What's up? Hello.
A question. The fraudsters are a lot smarter than I am, so I get tricked.
Okay.
So the end point of my question is what to do afterwards with regard to malware on your devices. The other day, I got an email from a vendor that I use. It's a lawn service in northern Minnesota. And so I open it, and there's an attachment. And of course, since we communicate and he sends bills and all that kind of stuff, I click on it. And then, 3 days later, and then I respond to him and say, I don't understand what the attachment means, and could you explain? And then, 3 days later, I get a message from them that says, well, they've been hacked and not to open the message. Well, I've already opened the message. So what do I do now to make sure that my devices haven't been infected?
You could basically just stop using that device and then take it into a trusted computer source. If it's a mom and pop computer store next to you, you can take it there. If it's Best Buy, Geek Squad, take it there. Just any place that you know that you're physically going into to have them scan that device.
So for example, and if I use Apple products, I could take it to the Apple store?
You can take it to the Apple store, correct.
Okay, and it seems to me that I should do that. Is that correct?
Take it to the Apple store?
Yeah.
Well, no, you should.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with someone face to face. You're not calling a number that you found online that may not belong to Apple. And now I'm the tech person, telling you, hey, give me remote access. I will scan your device from here. You can certainly contact Apple's tech support. Sometimes they may be able to have the software that you can download, but you have to make sure that you're talking to Apple Care. But yes. I was just taking the device in. So this is how you can help yourself. First of all, you said something about yourself. They're smarter than you. They're not smarter than you. Well, you're just trustworthy, right? Because you trust everything that you get. What's your skepticism level right now, you would say?
My skepticism.
Skepticism, what level is it on?
Well, it's high because you've talked to me and because this just happened. And so.
What would you say, a number between 1 and 100%?
I'm right up in the 90s.
Okay, take it to 110%, right?
Okay.
Any email that you receive, just look at it as a scam. You know what I actually did? I went into my mailbox and I selected every message in there and marked it as junk. Now all my messages go into the junk folder, and I go into the junk folder and move the messages into my inbox, because we get messages often. I'll just say this. Let's say I traveled to a country recently and got Ebola. and I sit behind you and I start coughing, you turn around and you give me a hug, right? Not knowing where I've been because I haven't told you, but because you know me, you've seen me before, you trust me. So it's the same with the emails. Like you said, they didn't know that they had been hacked. When a data breach happens, they don't send out information to their clients right away. What they do is they correct the problem, then they contact whoever it is within the company. They have a shareholders meeting. They come up with a PR plan. By then, it's probably 3 months down the line. And then now, like I said, now you're dancing after that music stops. So everything that you receive, what you did by contacting them is what you should always do. Saying, I received this email. I just want you to know, are you sending your members this information? Can I trust this before clicking on that? I know it's a lot of phone calls to make, but it saves you in the long run because now you have to take your device in. So just doing that helps you in the long run. So always, when you receive an email, just trust that it's not coming from, because what if I have your email address
Right.
and you're in my contact, I'm someone who's your friend, and then I'm irresponsible because everything that comes into my system, I'm clicking on it. So then I have a malware on my system, and now it goes into my inbox and it starts to email everyone saying, hi, this is Boima. I lost my job at the Minnesota Department of Commerce. Can you please send me $50? Right? And you trust it. You send me $50 because you're helpful. Actually, you send me $150 because you like me. And then now your device is compromised. So being that I was the irresponsible one, I passed on something to you that I shouldn't have. So just keep that mentality.
Which leads me to a follow-up question. So I clicked on the attachment, and so now and based upon what you have said, I'm going to take it into the Apple Store. But I think the follow-up question is that I did all that on my phone. Should I also do it on my Mac? And should I do it on my Remarkable? And should I do it on my wife's phone? And, because
Did you do it on all of those devices or just one?
just one.
On your phone, do you have a password manager?
Yes.
Yep, I would take all of your devices in,
all
just
of
to
the
be safe.
devices. Okay.
Or take your phone in and find out the type of malware that it is. But I would suggest changing your password everywhere after you've done all of those cleanings, because for the simple fact that if you have the password manager on your phone and there's some sort of malware that allows them to see that information,
Yeah.
then all of those passwords have been compromised.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a hassle, but you definitely should. Have you logged into any of your financial institutions since then with that same device?
No, I haven't.
That's good.
Yeah. But, I would be tempted to do it tomorrow. You do everything
Right,
online.
correct. You use a device that you haven't. I would just stop using that phone for anything personal or
Okay.
to log into your financial institutions. It's
Thank you.
difficult to tell what the type of malware it is. It doesn't show up and be like, yeah, I look at passwords. I look at, introducing itself to you. So you just have to look at it as the worst is going to happen, and then
Yes.
monitor your accounts as well. Because if you start seeing, like I said, with those little deposits coming in, then someone has your account number or your check card number. Was it you that was saying something about the situation that you had earlier?
Well, no, I just mentioned this vendor that
Okay.
sent me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you.
You're welcome.
So if you have a password manager, right, like I think it's Bitwarden or something I have, but you have to have a password to get into that.
Correct.
Is that a bad thing to have? I mean, should
No.
I go back to write them down?
I would just make sure that password is strong enough, because it's almost like you have, a beautiful home and you have all this expensive stuff in there, but then you go to Menards and buy a 50-cent door.
Right. Okay.
So just make sure that password is strong,
Gotcha.
stronger than all the other passwords,
Yeah,
because
and
that's
it's
your main.
completely,
Correct.
totally
Correct.
different. Okay.
Mhm.
I was a little unsure. My other question for you is, so you receive the clients and the case study or cases that you're working on.
Correct.
How many have a successful outcome, would you say? I mean, like, do you get the bad people? Do you?
You mean me physically going out there and catching them?
Well, not, but like, so when they reach out to you and say I was scammed or
Right.
whatever, what is the outcome then generally?
The
You know, just
outcome-
curious.
The outcome is it depends on the scam. The outcome is education.
Okay,
The outcome is trying to figure out how to prevent it in the future.
okay,
The outcome is resources.
okay,
And the outcome is probably another financial institution contacting me saying that you are practicing the same, after reading it, saying, you told me that you would stop talking to that five-star general, and now all of a sudden you go to a new bank, and now I'm getting the same report saying that you're still talking to that
Okay.
individual. So building relationship, whatever it is that is required, besides the fact of me going out there and arresting someone.
right.
But
which-
the point is to empower the individual,
Okay.
so that they know how to
Because
spot
most
this in
of
the
the
future.
time, the funds aren't, you can't get them back.
No. No,
You're probably not going to catch
correct.
the people
It's just
who are
to stop
doing the
right
fraud.
now,
Gotcha.
or you
Okay.
lose more.
Okay.
And that's the hard part right there, is trying to say there's nothing that can be done.
Right.
Protect yourself going this way. But at
Going-
least now, and most of the time, like the 2.5 million, the guy
Mhm.
told me, he said it was just an expensive lesson to learn. And that is a bad lesson to learn. There was
Very.
another individual that I've spoken with who lost 1.5 due to the similar type of scam, you know. And when I hear this, it's like, I want to cry, but I have to be strong,
Right. Okay.
because it's a lot of money. And you could tell over the phone they wish someone had gotten involved sooner, or they wish they had told someone about it. But that's what the fraudsters rely on, because when if I'm trying to tell you something, I've already signed a secrecy document that I have to abide by. So that allows me, where it's like, I can't tell you. And that's what they do. They set you up, because that's a plan all along. It's to say now that if I tell you that you have to do this in secret and it's from the FBI, you're not going to tell anyone.
Yeah.
How do you know you have malware on your computer?
There's really, I mean, they're getting so good at detection nowadays. I would say if you ever, sometimes if you're going to a website, or you pop open your computer, all of a sudden there's some window pulling itself up on the right side of your screen for something that you've never signed up for, saying click here, or we've detected something on your computer, or your system is just moving as slowly as it can when you know that you're on Xfinity Wi-Fi or whatever, and you have the best Wi-Fi. Maybe you have Elon Musk's whatever his website he has, and you should be downloading real fast, but everything is just moving slowly. Your computer takes a long time to download. It's just best to take it in, or if you actually do have like maybe an antivirus program, just run that just to be certain. But it's so difficult to tell these days, because like the criminals are, even the software companies are dancing after the music stops, because you don't know something is there until you know something's there, and then you correct that, and then the fraudsters find a different way to infiltrate that. So just always have to be careful. I wish there was something that would be an easy a detection that you could see physically, but then it stops it from happening. You know, it's like, I'm sneaking into your house, but I'm banging on the window at the same time. You know I'm going to sneak into your house. So yeah.
And another question on safety. I don't know an awful lot about the safety tools, because I'm not very technically proficient. But I travel a lot. I'm gone 3 months of the year, every year essentially. And in that time, no matter where you are, I've got to transact business. Bills have to be paid, etc. So my question is, I've employed a VPN, a virtual private network, that at least makes me feel comfortable when I'm in a foreign country and on an internet someplace, that I can safely transact, particularly when the host computer is in the United States, because then the banks, I don't trigger things. Is that safe?
Yeah, if you're using a trusted virtual private network, then you certainly can use that. If, like I said, if you're logging into it from a trusted source, you can certainly do that. Companies do that all the time when people travel. You just have to be careful. The question I'm going to ask you is, are these something that you can set up like on a recurring basis, like automated, so you don't have to worry about doing that? Can you set up like a bill pay with your financial institution that every month it sends those, so it's something you can spend less time trying to log in?
Yeah, almost all of my transactions are set up to occur automatically, but I use it primarily to check to make sure that my credit card transactions, because that's how I'm living,
Okay.
that my credit card transactions, that I recognize them. So I feel comfortable getting onto the credit card website or my bank's website
Using that.
just to see that, yeah, these are ones that I recognize.
What about notifications from that? Every time a transaction takes place, they're pushing it to you as opposed to you going to them.
Yeah, I always do it so that I set my limit at 0 or 1% or 1
Okay.
cent or a dollar, so that every transaction comes at me.
Okay.
And that way I just try to be careful.
Yeah, I think if you're using a virtual private network that you trust, you certainly can
Okay.
continue doing that, because I mean, how else would you, log in?
Yeah, it's safer than carrying a lot of cash.
Correct.
But I'd like to, you've given me some confidence that it's fairly safe, it's a prudent step.
And then just keep checking online pertaining to that particular virtual private network, to seeing if there's anything that others are reporting on Reddit or others are reporting online, just because I know a lot of people that do travel often and do use VPN. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
How do you freeze your accounts?
Oh, ftc.gov, right? So if you go to the ftc.gov's website, put in ID, identification theft. If you put in ID theft, there's going to be a page that's going to pop up, and then right at the bottom, it's going to say credit bureaus, and then when you click on that, 3 credit bureaus are going to pop up, and then you can contact them or go to their website.
And
So
should,
ftc.gov.
okay. And should you do all 3 credit bureaus?
Correct. Yes.
Oh.
All 3. Because it depends on where they're going to be going to apply for credit. And then they would say, there's an alert on your account, contact you. Even if you're the one, you can remove that as you're going in to apply. But if you know you're not going to be applying for anything, it's the best thing to do. Because like I said, your social security number is out there.
Right.
It starts with a 1, 2, right?
What's that?
It starts with like a 1, 2, right? Your social security number?
No.
What about 5, 7, 3? What is it? What's the first?
Never mind.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anything else? Ooh, fade to black. Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for consenting to being on camera. We're going to fill the other seats up with AI characters. So let us know who you want to be sitting by. Kevin Costner, Elvis Presley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will also say for everyone here, I'm Mike, but I will go up here just to the FTC information that Boima mentions. There's and the senior fraud kit particularly is on the back table to take with you, so you have some of those concrete addresses to be able to go and take care of some of that, and other information from the FTC. So please take that. Please fill out it's just like a couple question brochure or feedback on the program. And what is always so unfortunate about all this great information is not enough people hearing it. And so it's spreading that word of mouth. We mentioned that it's recorded. We'll have it in a couple of days up on the CHANforum website, so you can tell people, I saw this great presenter, really good information, things I hadn't thought about before, and then share stories about, being more open about it. It is a stigma when you think, oh, I fell for something, I feel so stupid. My father, who's was a college professor fell for a really bad scam. I mean, it's not about being smart. It's about having that moment of, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. So it happens to everyone. And that's why we all get those notifications all the time that say, we've had a breach and this is what's happening. So it's the more we talk to each other, the more we teach each other what we've learned, and then the more we'll keep each other safe. And that's what I was really hoping we'd have, people with parents coming to this and thinking, oh, I need to talk about, because I feel like my mother, who's 88, is much more trusting of things, because coming from a different generation, that this person is trying to help me. Oh, they're so friendly. It's like, trying to be more skeptical at all the time.
Right.
So yes, thank you again for coming. I'm glad it's a beautiful day. I'm sorry for the construction because we know that has an impact, but we know that we'll have more people that will get to get this information. So keep it up.
I want to share an experience that I went through and the importance of freezing your credit. I received notification in my mailbox congratulating me for the account I opened, which I haven't. There was a credit card and it said my credit limit is $16,000. I went to the bank, figured out that someone had filled out an application on my behalf, and I immediately went through what you recommended, which is freezing my credit. After that, for about 8 months, I kept on getting rejection letters from bankers telling me that they can't open, my application has been rejected. So what Boima said, please, please freeze your accounts. It takes seconds, and if you need to use them, if you need to apply for a loan, it will take you seconds to unfreeze them.
Good advice. All right. Please, we have treats. We have coffee. Load up before you go.